All right, here we go. The mighty return of John Salley. Welcome back.
What's up, brother?
What's up, man? It's been too long.
Yes.
It's been too long. Not because we don't rock with each other, is that we've been so backed up over the last 6 months or so.
Yeah, you just pushed all the regulars in the back. Don't worry about it. We're fine.
Never that. Never that. Never that. One of my favorite people, man.
Yes.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
October 2021. You sat in this chair right here.
Yep.
And you predicted who's going to the NBA Finals that season. Do you remember who?
21. I said it was going to be Milwaukee and Golden State.
And the Lakers.
And the Lakers.
Yeah, Lakers will win in 5.
Yeah. I was sidetracked by, I was sabotaged by too much talent in one place and didn't get a chance to develop. But my hat's off to, let me tell you, it looked like the hardest championship to win. I'm telling you, Golden State won one of the hardest championships I've ever seen somebody win.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a hell of a series.
Yeah. Well, the Memphis series, they were already champions. Once they beat Ja and them, I didn't think they were going to beat Memphis.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Well, neither team made it to the finals. In fact, the Lakers didn't make it to the playoffs. This is the first time LeBron didn't make it to the playoffs, right?
Yeah. And let me tell you what happens. So I remember one year I'm playing, my first year playing with Miami. I think it's first year playing with Miami, and we don't go to the playoffs. But I was injured. And so it's Memorial Weekend, because, the season used to be over in May and end of April. And so I go to Memorial Weekend and down in Cancun, my brother Jerry and I was like, oh, it's amazing. You're going to have a ball. And there's nobody out. But I know there's tons of black people in Cancun, the ones that have passports. Okay, black folks, get your passports. And
wait, do you need a passport to go to Mexico?
Yeah.
I thought with your driver's license, you could just kind of...
No, you need a passport to go. And now you better start paying attention. You're going to need visas for a lot of places. So we go into the hotel, and they got all these TVs in the lobby, and they're watching the playoffs. And the sun is bright as it's going to be. Girls in bikinis, and there's lounge chairs, and they're inside for the air conditioning. And the guy said, man, you're supposed to be there. And I never forgot that, because I'd never been to spring break because I was playing ball, and I'd never been to Memorial Weekend, none of that, thinking I was missing out. When I realized I was in the place that everybody was watching. So it humbled me real quick.
Well, after winning the finals, do you think that Steph Curry just has to be mentioned in the GOAT conversation? Because I feel like in general, when people talk about the greatest of all time, they'll say Jordan, they'll say LeBron, they'll say Kobe, but they rarely say Steph Curry.
Well,
because
there's not enough time yet.
Enough time?
It's not enough time.
Guy's been playing for Golden State for 84 years now. How much more time does he need?
It's not enough time yet. Michael Jordan won 6 championships in 9 years, or 7 years, 8 years, something like that. So, they were already putting him in this high level. And I tell people, you got your time. I don't understand why they're going for the greatest of all time when you got your time, right? Michael Jordan had from 1991 to 1998-99. Then Kobe had his run from 99 to 2003, and then again in, 2005? I forgot what year, but he had along with Allen Iverson, he had the early 2000s. Then LeBron gets his run, right? And what we forgot about San Antonio. So San Antonio runs along with Kobe. Then LeBron gets his run. Now it's Steph's chance. Remember, it was only 2 years or a year for the Greek Freak. Great movie called Rise on Disney Plus. I thought I'd just drop that in. I went to the premiere. Great movie. And then when I saw what he has gone through to get to where he is, I have a different respect for his game. It's Steph Curry and since 16? Or I don't know the years anymore. It's their turn. It's their turn and his turn to go through his time. And you get a run like that and you ride the wave with it. I reached out to KD to do this show, and I didn't know all the stuff he's going through and the things he's got. I didn't, I don't pay attention to that. And I just said, hey man, if you ever want to, I'm here. Like, I want to talk about your greatness, not all the other stuff. So you got these guys that get their time. LeBron has how many years now? 19 years in the NBA, 18, 19 years in the NBA. 10 of those years were 100% his. To this point, I think they're still his because there's nobody as dominant. Not as dominant, but he's been dominating. He is better as he's gotten older, which is amazing. More crafty. So I don't know why they do the greatest of all time. It's just a bad talk. I guess in the realm of greatness, he's in there.
Well, I mean, Curry, I looked it up real quick. Curry's been playing for Golden State for 13 years.
4 championships in 13 years.
Right. I mean, and really that whole squad, Draymond Green has been there for around the same time. Clay has been there for around the same time. So here's a team that hasn't been hopping around.
Right.
Like these guys have stayed put, even when they weren't winning championships. They stayed put. They developed. They grew together. And now look.
Yeah, but this is why. Management. So, yeah, they made a mistake, not a mistake, but they made a choice with Mark Jackson. That's my guy, so I'm going to say, and Steve Kerr is my guy, so I'm just to say they made a choice between two men. But Mark Jackson, strong-willed as he is probably the reason Steph is still there and had that chance, right? They learned to keep a nucleus together. If they want to pay attention to anybody that's won, from the Celtics to the Lakers, you got to keep pillars. You got to have a foundation. But they were going to trade him. They didn't think he was doing what was necessary.
Steph Curry, you're talking about? Really?
They were going to trade him. And then when it came time to take an extension, he took it right away. No time for us to go back and forth. I want to be here. This is where I want to be. This is where I'm comfortable. He understood from being with his dad, growing up, staying on a team as opposed to jumping around. Steph Curry had personal situations going on in his life, which everyone does, but these were public with his parents and all. It's a lot. It's just not putting on your sneakers and playing anymore. It's a lot you have to carry.
Well, for example, Iman Shumpert was on my show recently.
Great kid.
And he played with LeBron on the Cavs. And he said that he hated Golden State, despised them. Because they kind of changed the game from his point of view. Like, you didn't dominate a game by just shooting threes all the time until Golden State came around. And now look. Mm-hmm. And really just the way they move and everything else like that. He said he just despised this team. You know what I mean? You actually said you hated that team. Yeah. You were playing them.
Hell yeah. I was supposed to hate them. The basketball guys told me to hate. Like, I was supposed to hate them with all my heart.
I mean, what was it about them you hated so much?
They was a different version of basketball.
Well, now you understand my disdain for the Jordan years with the Bulls. Like, if you're going to be this competitive, you can't be a fan. You have to literally develop a hate. You had to. And like, the hate of the colors of white, black, and red. I did not like them. I used everything I can possibly do not to be friends when the ball was thrown up. Because I was really cool with Horace, and I was cool with Scotty, Phil Jackson and family, and I thought I was going to be a Bull. Jerry Krause had me come 3 times. Every year I do an event in Vegas, Leaders and Legends, and the owner of the Bulls is there. And he's one of the coolest guys in the world. So I thought I was going to be a Bull, and then when they didn't draft me and they took Brad Sellers, it became a hate in my brain. It became every time I play against you, I'm going to play like I can't, like I have to play this game or the end of my life is going to happen. I got to literally be that focused. And I was that focused playing against the Bulls. So like Jalen Rose, Jenny came on her and said, I'm a Piston and I'm bred to feel that way. I was. I just couldn't be friends with those colors.
Brooklyn Nets.
Brooklyn Nets.
Brooklyn Nets was set up to be the next big dynasty in basketball. KD, Kyrie, and James Harden played 16 games together this season. 16 games. Now Harden has left. He just joined the Sixers.
Mm-hmm.
He actually took a pay cut in order to free up some money for other players. Kyrie and KD, we don't really know what's happening right now. People are saying that they're just trying to kind of bluff. Kendrick Perkins, was saying that the KD's just trying to bluff his way into a higher deal or something. But this dynasty that was supposed to be the next big basketball franchise just doesn't seem to be working out the way it was supposed to work out.
Once again, too soon. It's just too soon.
I mean, it's not too soon. I mean, Harden's gone. Like,
right.
That's
they got Ben Simmons.
Well, he's got his own, set of issues as well.
No matter what they say, I watched him in college. He's a good kid. Remember, I always say this to everyone, and it's important that people listen. When you're negotiating, it's not the player. It's the agent. It's the agent. Who gets the backlashes is the player. But the agent is doing the best he can for the player and for his percentage. So if he knows where to squeeze and he knows how to work it out, I had a great agent named David Falk. I had some other good agents too. I'm not going to mention y'all, but David Falk. And David Falk was with ProServe and he had 27 of us. Patrick Ewing, Buck Williams, Michael Jordan, Sam Worthy, like down the line, right? He did the Jordan deal. Great agent, but he would know what the teams needed. And, I look back at it and thought maybe I should have got a signing bonus, which I didn't take because he had to make sure Adrian Dantley had his deal. To me, I was a sacrifice. I was a drafted rookie, skinny, they don't know. But he literally knew what to do. One, not just to make me happy, which would have been happy if I would have known that and my deal wouldn't have been so long, but I wanted to be in the NBA and I had a good deal. I had a good deal as a rookie. After my championship, I had a terrible deal. But then I got Adrian Dantley to be my mentor. So the money I didn't make up front, I made back because of the teachings of AD. So, but I had a great agent and he would work with teams. He would know teams. He would have a different rapport with general managers, not like, I don't know if I'm going to ever see you again. Back, like you talked about teams staying together, general managers stayed there too. They didn't get fired. They fired coaches. Now they fire presidents, general managers, everybody get out, let's start new. And you're not going to build anything like that. You won't get fruit off of a sprout. You only get it from the tree. So you have to keep those roots and build it and let it develop.
Well, we talk about Kyrie. A lot of people have a lot of things to say. The NBA commissioners.
Besides him being one of the greatest point guards and a vegan and one of the best players we've seen.
One of the best players out there.
Ever.
But some of the decisions he's made have not always been the best.
For who?
Well, really for himself. Honestly, well, let's take a look at the Celtics. He left the Celtics only for the Celtics to go to the finals and only to be swept by the Celtics in the playoffs.
But why did he leave the Celtics? He had a better deal with a larger market to play with Durant there. See, it's still, and I got to say this. Boy, you make me say some things that I say I should never say, but this is a business, right? It is basketball, but it's entertainment. I saw them trade Messi, the soccer player.
Mm-hmm.
He's the greatest player in the world. They traded him because it was good for business. So besides his basketball ability, yes, as an entertainer, we get it. But for him business-wise, it might have been better for him not to be in Boston. It might have been, it might be that he wanted to go to a deli at 2:00 in the morning. It might be that he wanted to play what you said with a place that was set up to be a huge dynasty. He wanted to be the one to put the first banner up, as opposed to being in the Celtics and you're gonna have banner 19.
Right.
So for him personally, and him not taking the jab, Djokovic, the tennis player, didn't take the jab either, just won Wimbledon. He won't be able to play at the US Open or be able to play in Australia. But guess what? Who's missing out? They are. They're missing out on the number one player in the past 16 seasons because they're stuck on genetically what they feel humans should do. And he's standing his ground. As far as I know it, Kyrie, the games he played, did work. The crazy rule that they have, now there's no rule. Now there's no rule about the jab. There's no mask. Now it's all gone. But in his life, no. Not going to have you dictate what I do to my body. I applaud that.
Stephen A. Smith said Ben Simmons might be the weakest, most pathetic excuse for a professional athlete we have ever seen, not just in American history, but in the history of sports. I can't think of a professional athlete that's come across more pathetic than this man.
Oh, Stephen. Well, Stephen is, he does shock jock sometime. And he's very committed to his beliefs. I don't believe that. I believe, that I don't believe that. I think Ben Simmons can be a great player and in the right situation would flourish. I disagree 100% with that, Steve.
Well, I had Gilbert Arenas on my show recently, and he talked about it. And he basically, Gilbert Arenas is like the king of the basketball finesse. Like he's finessed the NBA more than anyone I've known.
He's one of the smartest people I've ever met.
Oh yeah.
And I've met a lot of people.
I think I remember at one point he was like the third highest paid player in the NBA and he wasn't actually playing. Like his deal set him up where he was making, I think it was like I don't know, it was like 30 or 40 million or some insane amount to literally sit at home and watch TV.
Yeah. So when the guys say they take a pay cut, I think so people should know this. They're not giving the team back money. They're deferring their monies so they can open up. But you don't give them back any money. Because all it is basketball. A lot of times you see this, and this is a trip. Back in the day, if Jerry Krause, Jerry West, Pat Riley, Jack McCluskey, I'm just going to say names I know, Red Auerbach, when they made a trade or they did some blockbuster swindling, getting over, and all of a sudden they put this great team together. Think about it. The Celtics signed Larry Bird a year before he left college. How that happened, still not allowed to talk about it. They get McHale. They already had Cornbread, who was an all-star. They get Parrish. They get DJ. They get Danny Ainge. They get Bill Walton. All of a sudden, they got this master team that Red Auerbach put together. Players now are doing that. It's just like this world, and I hate to let everybody down what's going to happen. There will be no more bank tellers. There will be no more waitresses.
Yeah.
There won't be any reason for bankers. There won't be, figure this out. No one really cares. But when you put your car in a parking lot, you used to have to go out and pay the lady or gentleman and get out. Now you go to the airport, that's gone. That's a whole job. So everything is changing. They're going to get rid of all this. And we don't need to have a general manager see my talent and understand that I can go to this team when I'm a free agent. You should pick what factory you want to work in when you're a free agent. If they're all making the same product, basketball, pick. LeBron was smartest to pick Miami, right? You pick Miami, one, you're now a Florida resident, so there's no income tax.
Mm-hmm.
2, you got a new deal. 3, you're playing with D Wade. You wind up winning 3 championships. That's the smartest thing in the world to do.
Right.
You only moved to California so your kids can go to Sierra Canyon. Like, he sacrificed his money for his kids to play in a better place. D Wade did the same.
Yep.
So it's as these athletes now, which are smarter, more daring, more alert. I don't care what older players don't like what I'm gonna say. That literally don't say, talk to my agent. They go, explain the situation. And the agent is sitting there with them.
Russell Westbrook.
I love Russell Westbrook. Don't say anything crazy about Russell Westbrook. Goes to the basket as hard as Ja, who is becoming one of my favorites. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, what about this last season?
Okay. You know the difference? I'm going to come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Clay. You left out Iggy. You left out Clay. You left out Curry. These guys all got injured and had to take, especially Clay, and they took time out, except for Draymond. They take this time. Sometimes you just need a break from it, no pun intended. But you need, so much stress is why bones fracture. And when you're able to sit down and you're in rehab, you hate being in rehab. Rehab is harder than playing a game. But you're away from it. You're watching it. You're absorbing it. You're seeing it finally, not, from the outside. That gives you a break. He has never had a break from it. I mean, he's always been pressing to get to this point. And now you're playing on a team when you got one basketball. And you're used to being the guy that handled the ball 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's not happening. So you're trying to adjust your game. It just didn't fit at that time. I don't think they had enough time together to get it to work.
Well, yeah. I mean, I interviewed Iman Shumpert, and we talked about this. And we talked about Westbrook's $44 million salary this past season. And his thing was like, he got $44 million, but didn't get $44 million worth of, ball time, essentially. Right. So he didn't really have a chance to really earn his money the way people expected it.
It's like, why did everybody act like Russ wasn't going to have a period of time where he got to get his rhythm with new guys? Like, he don't got the ball 80% of the time no more. Everything changed, and everybody was just like, it's Russ's fault. He getting $40 million. Like, it's like, bro, he didn't throw himself into this to get 20% touches, and now he got to be super efficient. His whole knock has been he's not efficient his whole career. He don't play on efficiency. He play on heart.
But now he actually opted back in, and now he's getting $47 million. And
if I were to buy a car that didn't plug in, I would buy it right down the street at Westbrook Motors. I'm.
Wait, he's got his own car dealership?
Yeah, that one right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that Maserati dealership. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. His picture's outside. His name is up there. Hummer.
Must have missed it.
Yeah.
Must have missed it.
On Van Nuys Boulevard. This is the deal. It's never really what you're worth. It's what you negotiate.
Right. He negotiated a lot.
He didn't negotiate on potential. He negotiated on his past abilities, his what he's done before and what his numbers were there and what it could add to the team. I guarantee you now he's training now. And he did get hurt and take some time off. I do recall that. He worked himself back into it. But it's the sit back. And especially if you have a season not as successful as you may have wanted it, man, this summer is short. And I know this from just being around these kind of guys. They don't take a lot of time off. We live in paradise. So the 5 hours you put into basketball per day to get your body right, get your mind right, it's better to do it here in California. Steph Curry is doing it in Lake Tahoe, does his training, then go play golf. It's good life.
Well, I mean, some people say that, Russell has been relying on his athletic ability as opposed to skill.
Who said that?
A lot of people say that.
Well, a lot of people don't understand. This is the deal. Vinnie Johnson said to me, I love you, who? Vinnie said, when I wasn't scoring, I couldn't, the first 15 games or 13 games, I couldn't put the ball in the basket in Detroit. I started 4 of them. I just couldn't score. I didn't know what. It was like a lid on a basket. And when I finally scored, I like bowed to the audience. And then I finally, by the end of this, getting toward the end of the season, I found a groove. Do what got you here, is what Vinny said. If you block shots, ran the lane, dunked on people, do that. What got him here from UCLA is his raw LA takeover mentality. And if you're an athlete and you have that much athletic ability, I mean, you use it. You use it to your advantage. And you have to have a skill to play this game. The skill is basketball, so you got that. But it's athletic ability, which sometimes takes you up and beyond other players.
Skip Bayless calls him Westbrook. The two went back and forth on Twitter. Like, I think Westbrook was like, oh, you need to say that to my face. And Bayless was like, man, I'll say it to your face. Come to my show.
Yes.
Come on. Let's
Come on the show and punch me. So I can have $47 million. I don't need
that whole paycheck of yours.
I don't need 2 eyes. Knock this one out.
I'm old. And by the way, someone made a tweet recently, which I retweeted. They're saying that me and Boosie are the Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless of hip hop.
Oh my God!
What do you think?
Let me tell you, I wore this T-shirt just for y'all.
Okay.
I love Boosie. I told you, one of the only people I ever want to. I like everybody that you do interviews with because they're entertaining and I get to learn something. But Boosie, man, he's an amazing human being to even get to the point he's gotten to. And sometimes he's not off, except for the Michael Jackson thing. But besides that, he's not off.
Ja Morant.
Yeah, Ja.
Said he would have cooked Michael Jordan.
Yeah, it's easy to say.
Why not?
I would have dunked on Wilt Chamberlain.
There you go.
I would have went around Bill Russell. You can't do nothing about it now. I say all I want to say.
I would have scored threes on Larry Bird.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? This is the deal. The crazy thing that I get, and this is where you have to be. You have to be like this as a boxer. You have to be like this as an athlete in business. It's dog eat dog. It's the way you have to be. And if he doesn't have that confidence, I don't think he realizes that Michael would put him in foul trouble. I don't really realize that Michael would do things to make guys foul him, and then he would say something. That's 1 foul, stupid. Now he got you thinking. That's 2 fouls. Go sit down, bitch. Michael would say stuff like that. No, coach, let him stay out here. Let him stay out here. And then he's mad that the coach goes, no, sit down. I'll hold you for 3. Now you're caught in your head playing against Michael Jordan, and Michael was scoring on on the guy who was really afraid of him. So I don't think he understood the game Michael played either. Like, to the point where Kevin Garnett, and that time they were talking about Durant when they were playing. He goes there, like they had the Jordan rules out here, like you can't touch him. That was the truth. So Michael was able, knowing he was going to get fouled if you go to the basket, you were going to have to hit him. He was going to put you in a position to hit him. And guys have to realize it's not just playing as if in the park, or that's not a foul, let it go. No, it was playing against Michael Jordan was 8-on-5. And he was going to cook you. So you understand? It wasn't that he couldn't do it, but those referees was very, very ginger. And everybody knew it too. So I don't know about now, especially they call a foul if you look at the audience the wrong way. He might not have much playing time against him.
Well, speaking of Jordan, I interviewed William Bedford.
Yeah, I love William Bedford.
You guys played together, right?
Yeah, we played together. Yeah.
Well, we talked about, the whole bad boys, slander that Michael Jordan would speak on during his interviews. He said, you see 2 different styles with us and them, the dirty play and the flagrant fouls and the unsportsmanlike conduct. Hopefully that'll be eliminated from the game. I think we can play clean basketball. We don't go out and try to hurt people and dirty up the game. You never lose respect for the champions, but I haven't agreed with the methods they use. I think people are happy the game will go back to a clean game with a Bulls triumph away from the bad boy image.
Right. It's called propaganda. So in propaganda, when Michael didn't speak a lot, but then when he did make a statement is why you were able to read it back. I can guarantee you can only find like 10 statements he's ever made in the time he's played. Phil Jackson wound up saying the same thing. And it was a trip because James Worthy even said, those are not bad boys. The bad boys are the Lakers. Like are the Celtics. Like they know when they put in the bruises what was about to happen. It was like a hockey game. We didn't do that. Bill Laimbeer really never fouled anybody. If you look at the things they call in fouls, he would put his hands up or he would swipe down at the ball.
Wait, didn't Bill Laimbeer have a video game where it was like a combination of like boxing and basketball or something like that? You know what I'm talking about? Wait, hold on. Didn't Bill Laimbeer? Hold on. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know that. But to answer to what Michael was saying,
Bill Laimbeer's combat basketball. It was an actual game called for the Super Nintendo.
Really?
And you gonna tell me that he played clean all the way through? He had a game called combat basketball.
If you look at the fouls Bill Laimbeer fouled people with, it was swatting down at the ball or standing straight up and leaning against you. Like no one can say he just took anybody out of the air. I played with him. That if he hit you and if he body checked you coming across the lane, that was legal at one time. I say when you hear that and you have the audience and the audience reads that, now that's implanted in their subconscious. Phil Jackson is a master of the mind. And feeding that kind of stuff and having Michael say that kind of stuff made the NBA more alert. It made the referees have conversations. So anything that looked like a hard foul before, because we was going against the Messiah, it looked like bloody murder. So and him saying clean and dirty. He's clean, they're dirty. You know, it's kind of like, Spanish Inquisition.
Well, the thing that William Bedford said in response to that quote was he actually said that Jordan's a hypocrite because Jordan ended up taking a lot of the Detroit players to the Bulls.
It didn't clean up. It didn't stop. Other teams picked it up. The New York Knicks picked it up right after us. So, no, the bad boy image didn't stop. It didn't go anywhere, and he beefed up to get those next championships too. They started playing the same way. Why? Because you got our players.
Right.
Think about it.
Right.
You.
Buddha. Dennis
Rodman, who became a center point of that team.
Pillars. Remember I told you. Pillar.
Yeah, I don't think that the Bulls would have had the kind of run they had without Rodman.
No. If you don't have the Supremes, it hasn't been many two-man groups that we still talk about. Right. We talk about three-man groups, three girl groups, three guy groups. We talk about that. They needed that. They needed that stability. And they had four. They had Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson had literally the offense with Tex Winters and the way he did things. And he had defense and rebounding. He had a point guard who can defend, rebound, and shoot the three, and Michael Jordan who can do all four things. So that's why the Bulls were who the Bulls were. And that's why the Golden State Warriors are who the Golden State Warriors are. Steve Kerr brings in an offense and a system that stays there. Curry, Clay, and Draymond. It's really how you win. If I do it with Miami, I'll do it again. We'll do it with LeBron, D. Wade, Bosh, Pat Riley, and the coaching system that was in place. That's how you win. That's how you get it done.
Well, speaking of the Detroit Pistons.
I love the Detroit Pistons.
Of course you do. There was actually a story that circulated at one point about point shaving and how the FBI actually got involved.
Tell me about it.
You don't know about this?
No.
Let me pull it up real quick.
Who was it involved?
Isiah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
You know why I don't, right now I'm not going to totally believe that? Isaiah's security guard was federal because Isaiah's wife's father was federal. So I don't find that. It may be, but I don't remember it.
So there was a book that came out in 97
Oh, yeah.
called Money Players Inside the New NBA, which talked about Isiah Thomas and James Edwards. And they're basically saying that there was alleged point shaving to pay back large debts that they owed to the mafia. Money that Thomas reportedly lost over high-stakes dice games at his home and in casinos. They both denied allegations. But when the FBI learned about it, they couldn't find any evidence. But from what I understand, Isiah Thomas actually had to talk in front of so here we go. Isiah was put in front of a grand jury and became a subject of a federal gambling investigation. So it was real. Like, there was a real investigation. I think everyone ultimately walked away from it, but
because the dice games in Detroit. Let's think about this. One, it's never going to be in Zeke's house. And if Zeke was playing dice, I mean, did the guy leave the house after 9 o'clock? I mean, he needed 10 hours of sleep. He would tell you that. I don't totally believe it. I know the book.
You've read the book?
No, I know the book when it came out.
Okay.
I do. I think it was written to make a great movie, but I don't think, one, I know James Edwards wasn't point shaving. Like, he wants kamikazes and hang out, and he's still a happy-go-lucky guy, and he, no matter what, is going to give you 20. He going to do the Buddha fadeaway, and if he shoots you 10 times, it's going to go in at least 9. So, and then he's going to hit his foul shot. So, and then Isiah, that's a trip. It's funny, like I said, watching The Last Dance is so much I didn't pay attention to because I was trying to have a life as an entertainer as well as a professional basketball player. But I don't believe that was a real thing to the mafia, giving money back to the mafia. I don't believe that.
Well, Isiah and Jordan have always had a back and forth with each other. Jordan talked about sort of the beef that started in the 85 All-Star game. Jordan said, if you go back and look at the film, you can see that Isiah was actually doing that in terms of, hold on a second.
Ball distribution?
Well, in terms of freezing him out.
Okay.
Right. And he said, if you go back and look at the film, you can see Isiah was actually doing that. Once it started getting around that he was freezing me out, that's when the ill feeling started to grow between us. Isiah Thomas actually responded. He said, stop lying. The story is not factual or accurate. Tell the truth, man. Dr. J, Moses Malone, Larry Bird, Sidney Moncrief did not freeze you out. If memory serves me correct, I was injured most of the second half and Bird had a broken nose. Magic and Sampson dominated the game.
Right. So once again, POV. If you think Isiah is playing, like and when you go back and look at it, you realize there's some delusion there, right? He played 12 minutes. He played 12 minutes in the 85 All-Star game. How that whole 12 minutes froze you out the whole game, right? Forgetting there's 11 other All-Stars on the team. That's another thing guys don't realize. When you're used to being at home and everything is centered around you, you had Dr. J there. He just finished winning the championship in 1984, if I'm correct. Mm-hmm. Moses Malone was still Moses. Like you had a full Sidney Moncrief was like the elder, but demanding the ball too. So the ref, how much time you're gonna get, right? It's not gonna be like it is like, hey Michael, we want you to win the MVP and we need you to score for us. All these guys were all-stars. So just understanding that. And then plus Michael was young. That was Michael's second year. He got hurt the first year. So that was his second year coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when it comes to industries, everyone wants everyone to get along and be cool with each other, but that's just not reality in life.
King of the hill, baby.
Yeah, it's like there's people in media who don't like me and I don't like them, and people constantly tried to get us to make up and do an interview together, and one person will be okay with it, and then the other person won't, and then someone will say something. And you just realize after a while, like, we don't all have to get along. We don't all have to do business together. We don't all have to be friends. we could all be rich in our own domains and not have to really cross paths.
Right.
And have to, be all buddy with each other.
Listen, I say this to you because, when I see something or people hit me about you, I consider you my friend.
Yeah, likewise.
So I don't really care what they say, you know what I'm saying? And in this situation of people liking you and disliking you, one, is none of your business who likes you and dislike you.
Right.
Me, I believe in being kind to everyone. If somebody's trying to hurt me, I know they're hurting. I just make sure I'm not in a hurt position, but they get a little bit of empathy from me because they don't realize that they're projecting that. I'm not going to catch it, but they're projecting it. I literally think that way. And I hear a bunch of things of people not liking me, and I think, what don't you like about me? Like, what did I do to make you dislike me? Oh, I got more shows than you. Oh, I got more rings than you. Your girl likes me. I smile a lot. I remember, this one well-known dude said to me, he said, man, why are you always smiling? I go, you did all the fighting. I have nothing to frown about.
What kind of question is that? Why
man.
Why are you so happy?
Exactly. It was like, I was like, because I have a choice, right? You had a choice, and happiness is one of them. So I choose to be happy, and I choose to go where I want it and celebrate it. Period.
Delonte West. We actually had an interview set up with him.
Yes.
A guide approached us that was sort of helping him out on the street.
Yeah.
And he was like, listen, I could probably clean him up and get him to an interview in New York. We worked out a fee.
Yeah.
That was going to basically be essentially given to him so he could get back on his feet, maybe get a place, and so forth. And the day before our interview, a video circulated of him panhandling. And then we found out that later that night, he got beat up really badly because of that video. Because I guess people finally realized who he was and try to, rob him or something. So he couldn't make the interview. And we ultimately said, we probably are going to just step away from this. I didn't realize he was in that bad a shape. I thought, listen, Mark Cuban put him in rehab. I thought he was sort of like on his way back and maybe we could help him, show a side of him that people may not have seen. But he's in very bad shape, to the point where he did some interview on the street recently. He said that sometimes he forgets he even played basketball. That really his whole life now is just being in the street and trying to get through the day.
Living in the now.
Yeah.
Like, it's a trip. You know how like now on Instagram or TikTok, they're showing highlights of older players. They show you Dr. J, they show you Larry Bird because they're being mentioned so much. And to the point, sometimes I can't remember any game I played in. Like I can watch it and I'll rock back and forth, but my body tells me that I played, but I know what he means, playing in the NBA, and then I got a 19-year-old daughter, like, it make you forget everything. Like, where's my car? So it's, I got a lot of other things to think about. My heart goes out to him, man. It's a crazy world, man. It's top of the hill to the lowest part of the valley. I just said the value is in the valley. Iyanla Vanzant said that. She said the value is in the valley. So hopefully he gets out of the valley.
I mean, he used to play with LeBron.
Yeah.
He was LeBron's teammate and allegedly sleeping with LeBron's mom.
That part I don't believe.
You don't think that was true?
No.
No?
No, I think people do a lot of mean things to get to people when they put a lot of money on things. I think they say some really crude and crazy things to LeBron because they know he's not going to answer.
Right. So, for example, Eddie Curry was talking about how he was teammates with LeBron and he would go out and people would basically talk shit to LeBron and LeBron's feelings would be hurt to the point where they'd have to actually sit down with him and console him and make him feel better.
And I remember us walking down the street. I remember I didn't go with them that night, but I remember hearing about it the next day, about how some fans walked up to him while we were walking in Boston. And one of the fans walked up like, hey, LeBron. And he thought he was about to be like, hey, man, can I get an autograph or something? He said, LeBron, you fucking suck. Like, right to his face, bro. And it fucked LeBron up to the point where we had to tell him, like, man, you are LeBron James, bro. But he literally, bro, he cares so much about the game, man, and he cares so much about what people think of him, man, because he puts so much into it. He doesn't understand why people don't like him, why certain people, how somebody just couldn't like him.
Remember I said this social media, I'm so happy it wasn't around when we played, because I had a teammate that would get a fax every day from every newspaper. They call it clip service. Remember they used to have those? Mm-hmm. They would fax in every article that had his name or something they said about it. And he would read that instead of the morning paper. And he would know writers. He would know if he was going to talk to that writer again. Like, he was involved in what they were saying. I didn't understand that. I don't understand guys that realize the newspaper and the sports channels and the sports radio and the sports podcasts, they only get paid for content. And the more shocking the content, the more you get paid. Journalism has gone out of the window. People don't even know their history. To sit around and talk about certain guys involved or playing against the older guys, when I talk about it, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, these guys, Tiny Archibald, but they took cabs to the game. Mm. They got paid $65,000. Some of these guys had to have a summer job. Bill Russell got called nigga so many times, I don't even think he could hear the word. He was playing in Boston and his own fans were cursing him out. He couldn't go to certain restaurants. He was getting beat up for his choice of women. Like, that's hard. Getting on a private jet, having somebody carry your bag, having your own sneaker deal, having all of it. I wouldn't listen to anything. I wouldn't even watch reality television, which I make it, so I watch it. But I don't think I would do anything but listen to classical music, get massages, the right ones, and chill. I'm telling you, I don't know if I would do anything else. Like right now, my life is so great because I don't pay attention to what everybody else got going on.
Yeah. The Brittany Griner situation.
What?
Well, she's facing 10 years.
For what?
In Russia. For the vape pens.
Oh.
Right.
So they wore her number 42 at the All-Star game.
Nice. Well, for those that don't know the story, she was playing in Russia right at the time that the Ukrainian invasion started to happen. As she was coming back, and she was out there because there's more money for female basketball players over there than there is in the WNBA.
Well, they play both sometimes.
Well, yeah, they play both. Exactly. But she's making extra money by being over there. Coming back, through Russian customs, they find some vape cartridges, which is illegal in Russia. She has been detained 110 days. She is facing 10 years.
Yeah.
What's interesting is there was, right around the same time, an American school teacher was busted with about a half ounce of marijuana that was prescribed to him by a doctor in America, and I guess he didn't realize it was legal in Russia or whatever. He got convicted for 14 years, hard labor, for a half ounce. Okay, so LeBron made some comments about this recently. Did you hear about these?
No.
So on his HBO show, The Shop, LeBron said over 110 days. Now, how could she feel like America has her back? I would be feeling like, do I even want to go back to America?
Okay.
And all, of course, all hell broke loose about now LeBron is Anti-American.
He's not anti-American. He's a black man.
Right. Well, he actually responded.
Hope y'all get that one.
He said, no, we got it. I heard you. He said, my comments on the shop regarding Brittany Griner wasn't knocking our beautiful country. I was simply saying how she's probably feeling emotionally along with so many other emotions, thoughts, etc. inside that cage that she's been in for over 100 days. Long story short, hashtag bring her home.
Yes. The deal is, and I also heard if she was a professional male athlete, would that happen?
Yeah. If it was Tom Brady, what would the uproar be right at this point?
But they don't understand. It is about Brittany, but this is about Putin proving to America. Like, this is a whole different thing.
She's a war prisoner right now. She is really a prisoner of war.
Exactly.
Right, because I actually looked up the laws. If you're caught with less than 1 ounce, 1 gram? No, yeah, like less than 10 grams of marijuana in Russia, it's like $1,000 fine and up to 15 days of detention. She's now been there for
110 days.
100. Yeah, I think it's like 150 days now, actually, but by this time. So it's kind of like, and people are saying, well, but that's not necessarily smuggling or whatever else. But at the end of the day, this is a strategic move by Putin.
It is. It's 100% a political move.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this is that from what I heard, Russia is open to releasing her for a prisoner exchange.
Right.
And who they want is this guy named the Merchant of Death. Nicolas Cage, my twin brother, was in a movie called God of War.
Yeah.
Playing this guy.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is a massive arms dealer.
Exactly.
So Russia's like, oh, you want her back? Give us back the Merchant of Death. And you can have her.
And he knows, this is the deal. Putin also tested Obama. Obama wasn't having it.
Mm-hmm.
Obama was like, hey, this ain't going to continue. And the prime minister in Israel did the same. He said, I'm not going to let y'all punk me.
Mm-hmm.
Under a different idea with President Trump, but Biden doing the sanctions, and then I watched what Putin had to say and what his idea and target is. Same idea and target China is going to pretty soon, if it continues, going to take over Taiwan and telling America not to get involved. It's political. And when you're using one of our star athletes, which we love our athletes in America, you have to pay attention to it. And I don't think they paid enough attention.
Well, I mean, the WNBA is always an interesting sort of beast. Like, I don't know if you watched the new Bill Burr comedy special on Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
and he just went in and he was like, oh, they build this whole thing, the WNBA, and 300 people show up. You got this whole stadium, there's 300 people there. Even the women, all the feminists don't even show up.
Right. That's because, like in Russia, they show up.
Mm-hmm.
In Italy, they show up.
Right. But in America.
Well, it was the same way with soccer. And I had to fly through Atlanta, and driving downtown Atlanta, that soccer game had 83,000 people. So soccer used to be like that. And it's just, they didn't put enough into women's sports, period, in America. We've always had it, and it's always been
second fiddle, pretty much.
Second or third. They always treated it like it was Division III. Even at Georgia Tech, like there's certain schools, Old Dominion and UConn, they put as much into their female sports, USC, as they did into their men's sports. At least it looked like it. I'm sure it wasn't, but it looked like it. They still aren't paying tennis players what they should get paid. I mean, it's
really,
yeah, man. Let me tell you,
Serena got a big bag.
That's one person.
Yeah,
that's one person, and they rate you from 1 to 300. So if one person got a bag out of 300 or 3, that's not distribution.
Right, but look what's happening, for example, in golf.
Yeah,
the Saudi Arabians
smart
created a whole new league
mm-hmm.
with a lot more money and a bunch of the pro golfers are going over there and playing, and the PGA is upset and it's finding people and whatever, but they're like, fuck it, I'm making millions over here.
They gave Phil Mickelson $200 million. Boy, to do this thing that I'm doing for fun.
PG who?
It's just like, yo, I got my green jacket. You can't take it back. You can't Reggie Bush take back my Heisman. None of that. Like, this is the deal. We don't like being second. And when you're first for so long, and this is what it is, and you're all this prestige, pretty soon people are going to buy into this. They're going to get into that. They're going to get into, oh, you guys making money with that? Well, we want to leave. The deal is, what are they going to do? Not let them on American television? Okay, if you don't want to let them on American television, there's an entire world out there. 150, 130, 230 countries, 150 of them watch BBC. So you can play it there. You can play it. They don't even need to play it on television. They can make you come watch it on their channel. They can stream it. Anything. It's just the mentality that golf already has, you know. Yeah. Gentlemen only. Ladies forbidden.
Do you see?
That's what somebody said it.
Yeah. I mean, do you see a non-American sports league taking over and dominating a historically American sports league?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, soccer's always been European, right? Americans have always, they try, they get Beckham and whatever. But
did you know hockey was invented by black slaves?
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's a trip. Yeah, that's amazing. I found that out too.
Hockey?
Yeah, it's called.
Wait, black slaves in America?
The black slaves that got into Canada.
Oh,
literally.
I was going to say the South. There's no ice.
No,
so
well, the end of the Underground Railroad was Detroit.
Okay.
And then they would go across to Ontario. But supposedly, there's a documentary showing that it originated with them.
Because for example, basketball is huge in China,
but it's also big in. They got the BAL, Basketball African League.
But isn't that owned by the NBA?
Yeah, but it could overtake. So this is a difference, right?
But what I'm saying is, if it's owned by the NBA, it's essentially the same thing. I'm talking about a whole new group of investors that come in and create a league and start overpaying everyone to the point where, football tried it, the USFL and the XFL and so forth. It's always failed.
NFL Europe.
Right. But, once again, owned by the NFL. But I'm saying, like, what the Saudis have done is actually kind of fucking impressive. You're like, damn, they actually created their own golf league and got some of the best players from America to the point where the PGA's pissed off and finding people, and it doesn't matter because the money's over here.
And this is a trip. You can't find me because they're now going to pressure the sponsors. So let me tell you how this is going to work. The league is going to pressure the sponsors that have these players. And if your player goes over there, we're not going to play him here, and you're going to lose the money that you have. Doesn't make a difference.
It's going to be hardball, yeah. It's going to be hardball.
It's an international game. It's going to be overruled and taken on Asia, which is way, just like I said about basketball, way more people in Japan and in China and in South Korea and in Vietnam. We just need to realize that this small speck out of the entire world called America is not the whole world. Like, the world is the world. You understand what I'm saying? So it's bigger than America. And America has this attitude, and I noticed this, that we're number one in everything. And we're just our attitude. We're not number one in anything except attitude.
Well, I recently interviewed Eddie Curry.
Yeah.
Which was
a great interview.
Thank you. It was probably one of the most poignant athlete interviews I've ever done in terms of really the ups and downs and the trauma and the tragedy from, this guy's having his daughter and his daughter's mother murdered to being sued by his driver with gay allegations to a home invasion where him and his wife and his friends got tied up and everything else like that. But the one thing that seemed to go viral from that interview was when he was playing for the Bulls, he had a heart condition.
Yeah.
Do you remember this part of the interview? So essentially, the Bulls were worried that based on his condition, that he might actually have a heart attack and die on the court, which I guess had happened to some other players around that time.
Hank Gathers.
Right.
Reggie Lewis.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted him to take this DNA test to see whether he had it or not. And they finally got down to a deal where they said, whether you pass or fail the test, we'll guarantee you $400,000 a year for 50 years to take this test, $20 million. And after meeting with his agent, the agent kind of explained that if you take this test, it's going to create a norm for a lot of other players, especially black players. I actually looked it up. They offered you $400,000 per year for 50 years if you took the test and failed it.
Yeah, but the crazy thing was, like, my agent had did the math because he was a lawyer before all of this. Leon Rose, he was a crazy super lawyer before all of this. But like, they had did the math on it. The Bulls owed me like, I don't know what it was for that next year. I had an option that year to get like 5.7 or 8 point whatever it was. They basically were going to put that money up and pay me interest off that money. That's all they were really doing. And I kind of felt like at the time, I'm like, man, that don't really sit well with me. I feel like that wasn't really honest of them to do that. And so it got to a point where they were like, you know what? Well, we're not going to play you the rest of the year. And I'm sure you're going to pick your player option up next year, but we won't play you next year either. And then you could sit out next year also and basically try to figure out if you're going to play again. So at that point, they were like, well, if you want, you can try to go out there and find a trade scenario, a sign and trade scenario. And if we like to sign a trade, then we'll accept it. And that's what ended up happening.
I have it. Heart murmur, certain hole in your heart. But like Big Sean spoke about, just need you can help it by taking magnesium and phosphates, potassium, a couple other things that help your heart.
Right. I mean, he ultimately did not take the test.
Good.
He actually turned them down, and he made more than $20 million during the course of his career. So it actually kind of worked out. But it was a very interesting time. I mean, to say like, yo, $400,000 a year for the next 50 years. And he was probably like, what, I think 22 or something at the time. So essentially most of the rest of his life.
Right. Sounds like a good deal, but really not. Right? So,
really not, right? Because that money was already put aside for him, and they would have just made interest off it, and really it would have been almost free for them.
For them. They would have been giving them 4% of the 10% they were making from their insurance policy.
Exactly.
Right. They were making money by him not playing.
Yeah.
And they were setting a precedent. Remember, I told you, this is a dog-eat-dog world. I don't mean to use those terms. Me being with Peter, I got to think of something else. This is colonizer eats colonizer. I don't know what the way to put it, but it is a business, and they're not in it for entertainment for themselves. They're putting forth entertainment so they can make money. And like these guys say, man, my team, and you should stay with your team, and you should do this, and you should build a dynasty. You're literally a pawn. So I say this all the time, and I didn't like when the scout from Detroit said it to me. And I said, I didn't say a lot. I was a rookie, and I said, hey, where you been, man? He said, looking for your replacement. And he was honest, right? He has to, and when the guy, they don't scout everybody for your replacement. So guys need to realize that. Not only do you need to play well, and winning helps, and winning usually, Chuck Daly would say, winning banishes mistakes. You don't see it. You don't pay attention to it. You okay, we're winning, so don't pay attention. But it got to be more than winning. Look, there's guys who were winning, and I say this like Matt Barnes and these other guys who were on McGee, all these guys on Golden State. when the season was over, they got there, when the season was over, hey guys, thank you anyway, but we have no more real estate for you. And you're sitting around totally dedicated, wearing their colors and your number, you're going to be replaced. So you just have to, it's another reason you shouldn't pay attention to the media. I thank my guy, Bonnie Davis. He's recovering from cancer right now. One of my first coaches, taught me fundamentals. He kept pushing me to learn the fundamentals. Great guy. He literally, my high school year, told me to stop reading the paper, my senior year. He came into school, I'm there like 9 o'clock in the morning. I got the paper and I'm just right back to the Daily News to see if they say anything about me. And he said, come here. Yeah, stop reading the paper. He said, don't do it. They're talking about what you already know. Don't read the paper. And, I'm a reader. I read everything. I just won't read the sports section.
Well, I interviewed Gary Payton since our last interview.
Yeah, man.
Hell of an interview.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Oh, yeah, man. He's intense. And, me coming from the Bay, this is like a hometown hero.
Right.
For someone like myself. Like, everyone was talking about Gary Payton when I was growing up. Like, this was the star coming out of Oakland.
Right.
What was interesting, and we actually brought this up in the interview, was that he has 2 sons named Gary. They were born 5 months apart.
I know.
There is Gary Payton II,
Uh-huh.
who plays for Golden State.
Right.
And there's Gary Payton Jr.
Yeah.
From 2 different women, obviously, because they're 5 months apart.
When I was dating my Gary II's mom, who I met in high school, and then when I got the NBA, I had a relationship with another lady.
Uh-huh.
So happened they both had the kids in the same year. So it was like they both wanted to name him Gary. So I said, okay, cool. You could name one Gary Jr. and one Gary II. So it was one of them things where it worked out for me. I'm happy for that. I got 2 sons named after me. We can keep my name going on.
Irish twins.
Irish twins. Right. And he said something interesting in the interview. I think we talked about this on camera, where, he was saying how you really never see a superstar sports player have a son who's also a superstar himself. You said there's never been a superstar NBA father who had a superstar son as well. And, you even mentioned, like, you could say Steph Curry, but his dad wasn't a superstar, not at his level.
Right.
So you now have this situation where you have a superstar father and a son who's very good, but the mitten, young glove. Like, there's always the comparison,
Always.
which I feel like made it harder for him in the NBA.
What it made harder for him is because he's named after me.
Yeah.
Gary. He's got the whole name.
Yeah.
And people are always going to compare him to me. And I told him, never think that way.
There's in baseball, you can name them, but in basketball, there's Steph Curry.
Well, was his dad a superstar?
Yeah, Dale.
Was Dale really like
Dale was that cat. And,
really? Okay.
He was the man on Charlotte. He was a 3-point champion. He was a really good player.
Okay, he's a little before my time. So
yeah, I'm gonna send you the Steph Curry Burger King commercial that he did with his dad.
Okay.
Steph was a little kid and was like, can I be a great player like you? I sent it to you.
What's it take to be a great basketball player like you?
Well, you really gotta want it. You gotta taste it. You gotta be able to smell it. You really gotta be hungry for it.
Dad, can we go to Burger King? I am really hungry.
Then you have, in baseball, you got Junior, Ken Griffey Jr., who is Barry Bonds, who is those two. Who else?
Well, but in basketball, those what I'm saying.
But in basketball, it's Kobe Bryant.
No, his dad was not a superstar.
His dad was such a superstar.
His dad was a superstar.
His dad was a superstar. Let me tell you,
in America.
Let me tell you Jelly Bean's situation. Dr. J. Dr. J was in the way of Jelly Bean. Even then, and when Jelly Bean played for the Lakers or for the Clippers, I'm telling you, Jelly Bean can play. Let me see who else. Klay Thompson and his dad.
Klay Thompson's dad was a superstar.
Was the number 1 pick into the NBA.
Number 1 pick doesn't matter.
What?
We've seen lots of number 1 picks that did not work out. I'm not going to mention who because it's going to
Three-time champion?
Well, no, not every number 1 pick works out is what I'm saying.
Right. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But then Gary Payton II is not as good as Gary Payton.
Well, it remains to be seen. Let's see what happens.
They both have a ring.
They both got a ring now.
But Tide is still, what I told you, there's Tide and there's Tide Plus.
No, listen, I feel you. Listen, I mean, Gary Payton is part of the NBA 75.
Right.
Right? One of the all-time 75 great players.
Good choice.
Will Gary Payton II go down as the 150 or whatever next iteration that they do? I don't know. Hard to say. But, I mean, he's got a ring now, and he was a key player on that team. I mean, even when he got injured, people were like, shit, like, the Warriors might be in trouble right now without Gary Payton II on there.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
was a factor.
An energy that's no joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me just keep thinking. LeBron's son is going to be a great player in the NBA.
I mean, Shaq's son is now.
Shaq's son, Scottie Pippen's son.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan's son, Jerry Butler, is playing. I'm just joking. I said Jerry. I meant Jimmy. When I saw that, Jimmy Butler might be Michael Jordan. Jimmy Butler's a beast. I would hate to play against. That's another guy I don't want to play against. One, if I would say this, if I was playing against Ja Morant, I would jump first. All you big guys out there that see him going to the basket, just jump first. Jump first. Make him think about not jumping. If you go up in the air, he won't go up in the air. That's the only way of stopping that kid and not getting dunked on.
Well, I interviewed, the interview's actually running right now with James Slim Bowler. He was Michael Jordan's golf betting partner.
Oh.
You know about this story?
No.
Okay, so this guy was basically a golf hustler in North Carolina, in Charlotte. And he would basically make his money betting dudes on the golf course. And, with that, he had his own shop and everything else like that.
So Mike had to pay him like $50,000?
Well, okay, I'll get to the story. So at one point, Mike was in the area, basically betting on golf games. So he went out there and started betting with Mike and started winning. So Mike started to like him. And he was basically part of this group of guys. They would get together. Mike had like an island,
right.
This little like weekend island spot that he would go and they would all gamble and they would have private chefs and everything else like that. And, these days not going to the White House, as an athlete is not that uncommon. But back then, after he won the NBA championship, he said he couldn't go to the White House because he had family obligations and everything else like that. Well, in fact, he went gambling with this group of guys that week.
Once Michael did not go to the White House, and Jesse Helms was in the Senate, was a senator at that particular time from Monroe and Wingate. That is a political slap in the face. If you look at the simple things, when you look at the Last Dance in the movie, episode 6, where they portrayed me and Jesse Helms. Jesse Helms said, quote, when he beat Harvey Gantt for the election for the Senate, they won't have no party in the hood tonight.
He didn't lie. That's his extended family.
Right. So Michael Jordan ended up losing a bunch of money that weekend to Slim, and he wrote him a $57,000 check for his losses. Unbeknownst to Michael, Slim was being investigated for drug dealing and all this other type of stuff. So his phones were tapped and everything else like that. So, and I guess he tried to cash the check without paying taxes on it while his phones were tapped. So before he got a chance to cash the check, the Fed swooped in, arrested him, seized the check, and then now he has to go to court, and Michael Jordan now has to take the stand and now has to admit that he was gambling and what the check was for. And now the NBA is starting to investigate him. And, one of the guys in the group ends up dead with like $100,000 check from Michael. in his bag. And it's just like, basically Michael Jordan said this was the worst decision of his life.
Yeah.
And this was before you joined the Bulls. This was like
this
90,
before, yeah, before.
This was like 91, I think.
This is when, well, it was, remember after 93, he took time off.
Exactly. It was right around that time when there was a whole investigation. He basically was like, okay, I'm just going to leave.
Yeah, I'm
the
going to
NBA.
stop.
And then they dropped the investigation. Right.
And
then his dad got killed. And, it was all around that same time.
It's a trip, man. I told somebody, like I like having small victories.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time I've had like some top of the level, the next day or next, what you call it, something that would just bring you down to the ground. It would just like flatten you. And I tell you, MJ was going through so much then. Right after that, Space Jam came out. He had 6 different commercials on television, 4 different companies. He was the face of the NBA, 3-time, 3-peat champion. When did he get divorced? He was going through it. Life. I'm telling you, man, it's you try to live life and have your career at the same time. It's amazing on how things seem like they don't miss. They don't miss you when you're on top of everything. I don't know anybody that has been at the top that haven't had some crazy life situations follow. It's like the same thing, the good and the bad.
Yeah. I mean, did you and Jordan ever gamble with each other?
No, so this is the deal. I don't gamble.
Me neither.
Like I don't like it. I've never liked it.
Right.
And
Jordan loves it though, from what I understand. He'll gamble with the valet guy.
It's a competition. It's a competition, and
he's not gonna let those winnings go either.
No,
like he wants every penny that he's owed, regardless of the wage difference between the person he's gambling with.
I was on the plane with them.
Okay.
It's you always know they're going to be early to the plane because the games are very important. And every NBA flight, those talk games and those what else they play? They don't really play poker, but they play talk, and those games are serious. And I remember Jack Haley, God rest his soul. Jack Haley, when we were on the Bulls, he was hanging out with Dennis. He was handling or whatever, but it would be him, Hart, Pippen, and Michael, and Jack would roll by and go, God, I'm the day. And he would take everybody's dough. And they didn't like that, but he was the 4th guy that liked to gamble and they liked to play cards. But this is the deal. In a way, it kept Michael out of trouble. He's going to be in the hotel room with his security. The only reason it didn't keep him out of trouble was when they were doing it and they food poisoned him in Utah. By this Michael, they food poisoned him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how intense people are.
Right. The flu game.
Right. So it's they know where he is. Right. He's not doing anything that's going to really put his family in jeopardy. He's playing against other guys who have the money to pay him. And from the sounds of the article, when he owes, he pays. He just doesn't carry cash.
Right.
Smart.
Yeah. I mean, it was a crazy story. I mean, the guy, Slim ended up going to prison for like 9 years.
This prison thing is a trip here in America too, boy. You go to prison for looking the wrong way. I mean, it's becoming a police state. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. R. Kelly just got 30 years.
Yeah, man. 30 years.
You know R. Kelly.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I know.
I mean, when you heard the 30 years.
I was blown away.
Blown away.
Blown away.
You feel it was unfair?
You have to look at it all angles. What Little Bootsy said on your show before, some of it is true, some of it is...
Yeah, Bootsy said that he got 30 years because he's rich and he's black.
I just feel like he was over sentenced, man. When it come to... And because he's black with money, I can pull up over 10, 11, 13 cases where people have raped people. I'm talking about intentionally raped people. White people have raped people. I'm talking about raped their own and got months of probation. You know, it's just.
No, they got 30 years because they had evidence.
Yeah, because the Aaliyah thing came up in this trial.
Yeah, they had evidence. And
Aaliyah was 15. Evidence. He was 27. Got her pregnant.
And who
tried to marry her?
He did marry, right?
I don't know if it really went through.
Right. So, and then you talk about the guardians and people watching out. Let me just say, man, a lot's changed in this world, and I'm not saying anybody is guilty or not guilty, and I don't take those kind of, because you don't know all the inners and why they got involved and why they got and the reason they have the evidence they have. But then
it was a documentary that really put him in prison.
Really was the bad
Surviving R. Kelly, like that.
That's what I mean by media. Like
media's a motherfucker. Yeah,
that doesn't come out. Then they just have to deal with the facts, and whoever was the jury over that you couldn't have anybody that wasn't tainted. They all saw it.
Well, yeah, and listen, I've interviewed some of the so-called victims, and a lot of the people that were involved in that trial met R. Kelly when they were of legal age. They were some years younger than him, but they were like over 18. They were over 19. Some of them were full-grown women. Some of the women in the documentary were like in their 30s. Like, you're like,
there's a difference between, and I'll say this, when they go after Bill Cosby, and they said a lot of the things happened at the Playboy Mansion. And then this last thing, when the girl said she was 15 or 16 at the Playboy Mansion, how'd she get in the Playboy Mansion?
Yeah.
Where was her guardian, chaperone, protector, however? Hey, yeah. I'm not saying if anything happened. That's
personally, I to be dead honest, I feel that R. Kelly's sentence should have been accompanied with sentences for the various girls' parents. That's what I think. Because, look, you're a parent. You have daughters. Can you imagine leaving your daughter at 15, 16 years old with a man in his late 20s for like weeks at a time in a studio alone? Like, it just doesn't make any sense, right?
When my daughter, Giovanna, she's still doing her music now. Her new stuff is bananas. It's dope. I just literally got out of her way. But even when we would go into the studio, then I wouldn't let her go by herself.
Exactly.
Like, I literally put it in the house.
Yeah.
If you wanna record,
come on over.
Come over, and anything wrong in here, and you're getting thrown off the second floor.
Right. We got guns in here.
Yeah. Like,
right. No, I feel you. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, and
men.
Right.
You know men.
So
it doesn't make a difference if they're famous or not. They're still men.
Right.
And you know, us having this conversation and talk about them, we're not really in the place to, because we don't know the entire story. We only know what we were told and what we were allowed to know. I know that one thing about this country. If you watch Good Morning Vietnam, everything you see is going to be tailored or going to be censored to a point, right? You don't get everything.
Right. And he has other cases still pending.
Yeah.
So this 30 years that he got, there might be some other, simultaneous sentences that might be going where, like, let's just say that he gets let out after 15 years. He might have a Fed case that might go on another 12 years on top of it. So R. Kelly's probably not going to see the light of day for the foreseeable future. Look, people have done murders have gotten less time than this. In fact, we interviewed Blue Boy, who has admitted to killing 3 people who got around the same amount of time. Killed 2 people in prison, including Larry Davis, and 1 person on the street. And he's out right now.
I don't want to say anything about Blueface. You ain't gonna get me
Blue Boy.
Blue Boy, you ain't gonna get every. I thought you were talking about 55th.
Shout out to Blue Boy. We did an interview with him. Look, I interviewed Sammy the Bull recently.
Yes.
19 murders. He got less than 5 years. But he cooperated a lot. He put 2 mafia bosses in prison. America's a funny place.
It's
man.
a funny place because
America and like
because they already know. This is the craziest thing. We see it in the movies and we see it in the paper. When you're in New York, you would see Teflon Don.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? And then you see the Gambino. And then you see all that. And then you watch The Godfather. And you watch the Untouchables. And you watch all this gangster thing and Fed Incorporated. And they look and they'll have snitches. And they'll talk about back and forth. They already know. This one comedian was talking about his brother. And his brother was like, yeah, man, they gave me 5 years in jail because I had crack. And he goes, and I think it's unfair because the cocaine had to come all the way from Bolivia or Colombia, and it had to be on a plane, it had to be processed, it had to get all the way till it got to my pocket for the police to find it. They knew the drugs was on the plane coming here.
Right. And there's like what, a 10-to-1 ratio of crack versus cocaine in terms of sentencing?
Yeah, it's the feds know everything. It's not like you have to snitch and tell them anything. They're a part of it.
Man, listen, like just the way it's all set up. Like, for example, you could end up beating your state case, right? And then the feds will pick it up.
Yeah.
And you got to do a trial all over again.
Let me tell you this.
After winning. Proffer agreements, right? You could go and admit to everything, to murders, drug dealing, extortion, whatever, and implicate a bunch of other people and then not be charged for what you're saying in the process. Police can get into an interrogation room with you and lie about what your co-defendants are saying in order to get a confession out of you. And that's considered perfectly legal.
Well, it's not.
No, it is legal. No, it is legal. A police could lie to you to get a confession. And if you confess, it just is what it is. It doesn't matter what they said beforehand. You see what I'm saying? This is all legal in the courts. You are at such a disadvantage when it comes to the legal system.
Well, then, to go back to, I wish, I don't wish anything. I wish kindness on everybody. And, that's hard on anybody being caught up in a coup. I just, but my heart goes out to everybody involved with the R. Kelly situation. The girls who feel they were damaged, the parents who feel they were at this point, and him, because, having a bunch of women throw themselves and be in certain places was considered, that's what happens when you're in a rock star situation. That was a norm.
Yeah, but of age women.
You say that, but then
of age.
I was watching everything and Almost Famous. I was watching Almost Famous, one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, great
and he
movie.
goes, it's all happening now. They were 16.
Yeah,
and when
but R. Kelly, even remember his early, bump and
Elvis
grind.
Presley
So show
married-
me some ID before we get deep.
Elvis
he's
Presley
already
was
talking-
with his wife when she was 14.
14. Yeah, it was some real scumbag shit, and I agree. He should be, vilified for what he did.
Times have changed, and the image on what they do is why I smoke weed on my balcony. It's the reason I smoke weed on my balcony, and I'm only happy or I'm only going when I'm celebrated. I walk in the thing like, dog, I'm telling you, it gets to the point now, if you see someone attractive and you were to say, man, you really look nice, that could be sexual harassment.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous to me. So you say nothing. It's like but then you're part of the problem. I think about a lot of things before I'm going to answer you. It may not seem like it, but my brain is scrambling. I'm on full court press for every question you got up in my brain.
Right.
But you get to a point where, some things were messed up and they should be better. But, man, I'm with Dave Chappelle. Sometimes y'all got to get out of this. You're on this side, I'm not paying attention to you, whatever. A Republican and a Democrat, they're going back and forth. People are starting to realize they're the same people. So it's you're sitting around fighting on something that doesn't enhance you. And so if it doesn't enhance me, I don't do it. And I look at that with everything. And I'm glad that I didn't do really anything that can put my future in jeopardy. Like, I didn't tell on anybody. If I know something, I don't know nothing. I ain't seen nothing. I thought you were blind till you walked in here, officer. Like, I'm, you know what? Don't ask me. Like, that's not how it's going. That's why, like, when they were saying, man, Vlad is a Fed, I go, for asking you a question of things he's seen on YouTube already? I said, he just does research and he asks you about the things that he's read that you've already answered, so he kind of knows where you're going. I had to tell people that's how you did interviews.
Oh, yeah, man, listen.
They think you invented.
Right. I mean, one of my most infamous interviews is with Lil Baby, right? Where I'm talking about him being locked up and getting into a fight in jail with this white racist dude. And Lil Baby was like, how'd you know he was white? Like, how do you know the story? And when he said it, I'm like, I already knew how people were going to take it. So I left this long pregnant pause. And I'm like, I think I read it somewhere. He's like, I don't know about that. Okay, you got into a fight with a white dude.
Exactly.
Was it like a racist thing? Was it like whites and blacks kind of clicked up in there?
How you know that?
Well, that's just how prison is most times.
I'm telling you, how you know I got into it with a white dude, though?
I think you may have mentioned it in the past. Lil Baby, when he played I think Coachella or something, he actually played part of that video like in the intro of his set and everything else like that. And that video comes up so often, like, yo, even Lil Baby knew that Vlad was the Feds.
Well, Vlad.
Right.
Vlad.
But let me just finish. Lil Baby did an interview with DJ Smalls, I think like maybe 6 months or a year before my interview, where they talk about that situation, where he goes into the detail of the white racist and everything else like that. You could actually pull up the DJ Smalls interview and pull up mine, and you could actually see what it is. It's all it was just basic research. Like, I go through other people's interviews if I'm interviewing somebody, and we out research everybody.
Right.
Like, we spend hours, if not days, if not weeks, sometimes researching people. So when we sit down with a person, we're not just winging it. Mm-hmm. Like, we have, I have a blueprint. I have details. I have other interviews I've listened to. It's not just a Wikipedia, perusal. So no one else really does that. So it sounds like I'm the Feds. And they're like, oh, look at the Lil Baby interview. But we have the proof of where we got the actual information. It's just that, you know how it is. When you do a bunch of interviews, you don't remember what the fuck you said in a previous interview.
And it's not good for you to have to give your references on television, right? Because that means you're watching them. And you're promoting them as a source. So TMZ doesn't tell you where they get this stuff.
Yeah, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But what I'm saying in this particular case, I kind of played it up a little bit, and this is considered the big gotcha moment for VladTV. This is how we know one of the biggest artists in the world has proven that Vlad is the Feds. And it's like, no, just look up this DJ Smalls interview.
I was going to ask
right there.
That's when I was going to interrupt you. I was going to say, well, Vlad, where did you get the information? This is a good time.
Shout out to DJ Smalls. I've known him forever. There's a Lil Baby interview that goes into the whole detail of what I talk about with Baby. But yet, hey, man, it's cool. You want to call me the Feds? You can call me the Feds. You want to call me the police? You can call me the police.
Just don't get a sweatshirt saying the Feds.
The Feds. There's photoshops of me in a police uniform. Like, yo, the internet is undefeated.
Donnie Brasco, Vlad.
That's right. LeBron is the first billionaire in sports. Or was it Jordan's not a billionaire, is he?
His company is worth $1 billion.
Jordan brand that's owned by Nike?
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying Jordan himself, I don't think is worth $1 billion. But
LeBron,
Johnson, I believe, is.
But Magic Johnson's a billionaire. Magic Johnson is first. Michael Jordan wind up joining the club. Isn't Shoemaker?
Magic Johnson has a net worth of $620 million.
Okay.
Not a number to sneeze at. Let's look up net worth of Michael Jordan. $1.7 billion. Maybe they're talking about active players.
Maybe they're talking about
the only active player.
Because
right
I remember
now,
when they were calling Michael a billionaire.
Yeah. The only active player that's a billionaire that's still playing the game. LeBron James.
Wow. In the NBA.
In the NBA. Of all sports.
And to let everybody know, he has $1 billion and he still can be hurt because he's still human. Everyone thinks, and I used to say this when a guy got a new contract and they talk about, man, you going to play like that and you got this much money. It doesn't stop you from being human. You still get your heart broke. You can still have a stomach ache. You can still have ingrown toenails. Like, you know what I'm saying? More money doesn't make you float like Dr. Manhattan.
Take the same shits that everyone else takes.
Yeah.
Same showers. Your shower might be a little nicer, but it's still the same water.
Same water. Your pool may be bigger, but it's still a pool.
Still a pool. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, shout out to LeBron for really pulling off what he pulled off, because
it's amazing.
To be in the league for that long, to still function at the highest levels, but from what I understand with LeBron is that he was the first player to really invest into his body at the level that he did.
No, Kobe. Well, if he invests $1 million a year and he's a billionaire, that's not even a percent.
Right. It's like 1%.
Yeah.
Or no.
It's less than
a 10th of 1%.
Yeah. So, like it's the same amount a race car company, if whatever the car runs for. A Bush car is $4 million a year. A NASCAR is about $30 million a year to run. And they run for 11 months. The NBA, I've always said it. If players were to treat their bodies like they treat NASCARs or Formula One cars, they would perform like a Formula One car. I truly believe that. And I think Steph Curry showing him working out when usually everybody else is relaxing and he's doing techniques of working on his core because he realized that's where it all starts. The little things that players we may not pay attention to, but staying in their routine. Part of this documentary I'm doing on longevity that I just hit Snoop up for, Magic Johnson. I hit, Tom Brady guy up, my boy Chopra, Deepak's son. I was like, hey man, I'm doing this thing on longevity. I'm 5 pounds lighter than I was when I played 22 years ago. My diet has been everything. I watched my guy Rich Roll's podcast. He interviewed this guy who was 100 years old. He started running at 80. And he was like, it's always been my food. Diet is always.
It's always been about diet. I lost 20 pounds and kept it off because of diet. Everyone I know that's lost a significant amount of weight, every single human being, I don't know anyone that's gotten there by working out.
No. And working out doesn't.
I mean, it helps, but they've never lost. Losing 20 pounds and eating the same thing by just working out is damn near impossible.
Yeah, because working out, it doesn't make you lose weight.
Exactly. I mean, you can burn calories, but
a calorie is a calorie.
A calorie is a calorie.
So it's
burning 100 calories on the treadmill is a lot harder than not drinking a soda.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of the equivalent, right?
Right. So a calorie is a calorie, and you put it right. If you put high sucrose, fructose corn syrup in your system, you're gonna get fat. Yeah. It's gonna shut down. This is what's gonna happen.
It is what it is.
It's designed to do exactly that.
Right.
So I always talk when guys put their money up and take care of their body. I was driving my wife, she was working in Beverly Hills, and I was driving her this one day. I don't know why I was driving her. And it's, she's a Pilates instructor. It's like 7:00 in the morning. And I see Magic Johnson running around Beverly Hills, jogging.
Yeah.
This had to be 5 years ago. Dude, I wouldn't jog up the stairs. He's jogging on concrete, and he's 60-something.
Yeah.
So it's just when you see people who know how to keep their bodies going or that works for them, it's definitely a body in motion is a body that stays in motion. And it has to be diet. It has to be.
Well, I hit up Chuck D before this interview. And he said that...
Rhyme animal.
Well, he said that when we do interviews, that's like his favorite sports show. Shout out to Chuck D. Shout out to Chuck D. So I said, do you have any questions that I should ask John when he comes in? And he said this. He said, what does John think about how there's more investment and potential right now than the result? They spent more time and money talking about the draft and summer league than the winners of the championship. There's essentially radio silence on the Warriors winning.
Right. It doesn't. I agree. It becomes commonplace. They're like, oh, they won again. How much more are we going to talk about? We cannot. So now, we're going to be a corporation, everybody. Let's think like a corporation. This team has a favorite. This is the new face that they like. We want to push all the rest of the teams so we can have parity. We can't. This guy won. And it's the Golden State Warriors. We're getting the most we can out of this jersey. But we need to sell this Milwaukee jersey. We need to sell this Atlanta jersey, this Phoenix jersey. This future Seattle team is coming. This OKC thing still needs to go. And now the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, there's so much as a corporation we got to do. But if we invest only into what happened right now and not into what the future is going to be, we won't be in the future. So potential has always been what they paid upon. George Gervin said to me one time, you get $1 million on potential. You may not be able to shoot the ball in the lake, but on potential, they're paying you. On potential that if we talk about this new group that's coming in that needs to have tailors, I just want to say that at the draft, some of y'all outfits are horrible and trash. Period. That wear the chain with your shirt and your suit, cut it out. You're not a rapper. Not a rapper. Stop it. Dress like 50 Cent. 50 Cent dressed like a professional athlete used to. Dress like 50 Cent. Dress like you going into business. Phil Jackson didn't like when I was into that. Because Michael, everybody, we were in the suits. You're holding more than just you.
Right.
You're carrying the lead and your family and you. Dress like a professional.
But then there's the pink suit, but you know. We'll not talk about that.
Yeah, it was yeah, man. I sent it to you, man. It was a 2-piece. It was a summer hangout. Man,
Right.
It was terrible. But but you should dress like a professional. And you gotta look at this group, right? They got a whole new, I told you this one kid came up to me when he was 16 and Kobe, it had to be 2008, 2009. He said Kobe Bryant is the greatest player he's ever seen in his life. He was right. He was 16 years old. He hadn't seen anybody else.
Yeah.
So he was right. But we have to promote, the NBA has to promote in order to stay where they are so these players can continue to get this money. We have to invest what's coming, like not what's already there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of focus on the Summer League right now.
Yeah,
Which
I saw it on television.
Yeah, like it's actually being televised right now, which historically wasn't really happening, right? Yeah.
No, the only thing you got at the league, at the Summer League, which was the best when it was in Los Angeles, at Loyola Marymount right there in Marina Del Rey, was the girls came. It was free. And they were abundant of beautiful women that, you could be like, you could do that with. That was all the light you were gonna get. There wasn't even like news channels there. Maybe when Magic came, like one time when I was in Summer League, Magic came to run with the team so he can get some playing time. So these guys who were on the Summer League got to play with Magic Johnson, which weren't the free agents all the time or the guys at the end of the bench. It was a whole new group of guys, and they were going to pick one or two out of that group of 12 and 13 guys. So you were hoping you were going to play your best. If you were in Magic's position, too bad for you, because he was making sure that nobody was getting that, but everything else was open. When I saw it on television the other day, I love it that you can watch basketball in the summer. I love the Big Three. They decided not to employ me this year, but they went to Dallas. I love watching basketball in the summertime. When I was in New York, you would go watch in the park. In Brooklyn, you go to Brevoort, and if you're not afraid and you know some people, you go up to the Rucker. I mean, it's fun to watch that. So I like watching basketball in the summer, but man, watching these guys getting playing time already, they're making them stars. The best thing about this is no matter what team you're playing on, you can play well for that team and be signed by another team. So you're every game and every practice, and them being in Las Vegas, which the most may seem like it's a lot of temptation, man, it's the best pool to be in. It's the best. The sauna is great. You can get massage, a real one, not the bad one, which I recommend always going to the massage place to get a massage. I never recommend them coming to your hotel room, ever. Ever, ever, ever. And I don't care about the massage people that are upset that I said that. Unless it's a male, it's just a dangerous situation. It's always dangerous. And I think the food is going to be great for them in Las Vegas. I stayed in Holiday Inns when we played, and times have changed. That right now these guys are staying at the Wynn.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Deshaun Watson, who didn't take your advice when it comes to massage parlors. 66 different women, 20 lawsuits, or I think it might be up to 30 lawsuits at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go to a massage parlor if you want.
If this is a trip, man. I've been to a massage parlor before. And yeah, it's a setup. The whole thing to me is a setup.
Right.
And they were like, yeah. I was like, nah, I'm good. And they were like, no. I was like, nah, I'm good. I can just feel setup. I felt cameras.
Shout out to Robert Kraft, who got caught up in one of those setups.
Yeah, man, you get set. It's a setup, and it's happened too many years for you to continue to do the same dumb thing. The best thing Jerry Rice taught me was bring your nutritionist, bring your trainer, and bring your massage therapist. You know what I'm saying? That you're going to get tickets, whatever, but bring your mechanics. Bring your mechanics, bro. Don't think about it. Don't think about, man, where am I going to get workout time? Your trainer's going to say, hey, we got a gym, and this is the time we're going to be in the gym. I need you here at this time, and we'll take a car over. Your nutritionist, when you get back to your room, is going to have had the food. Either he was down in the kitchen in the hotel, or he went somewhere and brought it back. And they're not living in your room. They're making sure you eat right. And then after you do the workout, you know what I'm saying? This massage therapist is like, hey, man, go down to that sauna and, sit in the sauna for 40 minutes and dip in some cold water. And then when you come back, you know what I'm saying, we're going to massage you. You should be ready to go to bed. You're there to work.
I mean, speaking of Jerry Rice, when you saw the Popeyes commercial with the chicken helmet.
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. Oh, my God. Oh, those checks are big, boy.
And you got to understand that I grew up in the Bay, so Jerry Rice is like the ultimate hero when it comes to someone like myself.
That's a big check. It's a big check. It got to be a big check. They offered me to do a wing commercial in North Carolina. And Sandra, my chief of staff, said, John is vegan, right? And they said, well, he doesn't have to eat the chicken wing on camera. But we'll pay him $35,000. It's a 30-second conversation. And I said, not going to happen.
Here's the commercial right here.
Football legend and wing aficionado Jerry Rice and I like to eat classic Cajun wings and play catch at the same time. So we made the Taste Mask. 360 degrees of pure wing rotation for hands-free wing eating. Looking for easy access to dipping sauces? That's where the Sauce Dome comes in. The hat that puts all your favorite flavors inches away from your taste buds. And if you're tired of ruining shirts with dipping sauce, you need Popeye's greatest wingovation, the napkin shirt.
Absorb it.
The chicken football helmet.
Funny.
At some point, does
fun.
someone around you say, hey, Jerry, this probably is not the best idea?
Or somebody says, Jerry, it's going to play and it's going to go away and they're offering you $560,000. And you go, for me just to say the word absorbent? So that's the thought process. And dog, I wouldn't eat that.
You've never seen that before, have you?
I've never seen that commercial. And
how do you feel right now?
I feel like
you feel like Jerry let you down a little bit?
No, I don't feel Jerry let me down. No. Listen, we had on Best Damn Sports Show, we had Huda chicken. And they would, our lunch was at 12. But by the time we were shooting, it's like 4. You're hungry. You're whatever. And they put the chicken wings in front. And Michael said, are these good chicken wings, Michael Irvin? I said, Michael, don't eat that on camera. He was like, man, I'm hungry. Shoot. I said, they're not paying you to eat it on camera. When the camera's over, do it. But you don't want to sit on camera eating a chicken wing. I said this early 2000. Michael was like, shh. They came back. Michael was like, these wings, and you got people were like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, if remember back in the day, MC Hammer was doing KFC commercials.
Right. KFC is the largest fast food chain in the world. Though.
Right. And he got crucified for it.
Exactly.
I remember like he was one of those like, Jack the Rapper kind of conventions. He was doing like a panel or someone, and like someone in the audience was like, hey man, you were dancing for chicken. And he was like, no, I was dancing for money. He's like, no, man, you were dancing for chicken. And it turned into a whole thing. You fast forward 2022, and what's his name? What's the name of the white rapper? Jack Harlow. Jack Harlow, who's from Kentucky, has got a whole Kentucky Fried Chicken campaign where his face is on the bucket and everything else like that. And everyone's saying how smart he is and how business savvy he is to do that. But like in the 80s, if you're a rapper doing chicken commercials, you were really being frowned upon.
Well, this is why. If Rick Ross does a thigh commercial and a Wingstop commercial, we understand it because he owns it.
Yeah.
If Jack Harlow is from Kentucky and his face is in a bucket of chicken, it's fine because there has never been a stereotype about white people eating fried chicken or only wanting fried chicken. Mm-hmm. It has been a stereotype, like Dave Chappelle said, it's a bad one because at that time, besides me and 3% of America, don't eat chicken and don't believe in that. But the rest of the country eats chicken. It's just that the idea of the chicken being there. I remember one time, my boy Bryant, his in-laws are from Israel. And we go to their house and they got these wonderful carpets, these area rugs. And I want to see these rugs and, go meet them. And I get there and they're like, oh, you want watermelon? And I started laughing and Brian was like, no. And to the point why I started laughing is because I know they didn't know. They were eating watermelon, but it's crazy to show a black person eating watermelon like he's going to stop. So those images don't need to be amplified. Jerry didn't do anything in that commercial that embarrasses us. He was on a turn thing and he said, absorb it. And he was funny. The black lady from Kentucky, from Popeyes, was like smiling, then okay with it. He doesn't let me down. It's just that one, I'm happy I'm a vegan. And two, I'm happy no one offered me that with the amount of money I know they had to pay Jerry Rice, Hall of Famer.
Well, before the interview, I went to the YouTube members section for VladTV.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the thousands of members, by the way.
I'm one member.
You're a member?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's up. And we have a forum where we post all of our, full interviews, as well as, sometimes I'll post questions or make comments or whatever else. And I said, what should I ask John Salley in our next interview? And one of the members, Madlink1, said, have him talk about the story he said on Celebrity Ghost Stories. I did not know this existed until earlier today.
You're not a fan. Your audience is.
Yes. Shout out to my audience. So you were on Celebrity Ghost Stories telling about a fairly serious situation.
Deadly almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
How long ago was this? Because you look kind of younger back then.
1987.
What? This was from 87.
Yeah, 1987. 1987 when it happened. I did the Ghost Stories in 2000 and something, but it happened in 1987.
So this is like a 20-year-old video, essentially.
Well, it happened
the Ghost Stories episode is about 20 years old.
34 years old.
Well, you said it happened in the 2000s. You
no,
filmed
the
it.
video, the ghost story that I told, but the incident happened
in
I'm
1987.
saying,
so the story that you told is on the show was around 20 years ago.
Yeah. 20, maybe less, maybe more.
Okay.
Maybe less.
Are you still standing by the story?
Dude, I'm telling you.
So can you go ahead and tell the story?
All right. So the story in the Ghost Stories is I'm in Atlanta. It's the summer. It's the summer after I go pro. And I come home to Atlanta. I can't wait to get back. And I mean, it's the best summer of my life. I always think, besides when my daughters were born. But I go to Magic City. I'm going to finally say the place because I couldn't say it then. I said a club, but I'm in Magic City. And I usually don't like sit down in Magic City. And if you come into Magic City, the VIP, it was right here, it was glass. And then the stage went like this. And I for some reason, was sitting down. And me and my boy Michael and Bobby Brown, we're in VIP first. And then Bobby comes in. And Bobby was like big man. You know, he was little.
Yeah, my prerogative.
He had this thing. So we, whatever, bullshit with Bobby, but it's getting too crowded. So I get out of VIP. With somebody else in VIP, and Bobby was trying to get to Bobby, and Bobby guys were like, no, and I guess they pushed him or smacked him or did something. He said, all right. He goes out to his car. He come back in. They start shooting at the front because that's where the VIP is. So everybody's ducking, and right here is the exit. And I see it, Michael goes, we got to get out, and that's the exit door. And I take off to run, and as I'm running, I literally fall like somebody in a horror film. And I'm trying to get up. And then all of a sudden I think it's security. They pick me up. And I feel them pick me up so I can run. And as I going through, they bust out the door. And as I'm running down, my car is parked there. I wouldn't valet it. I parked in front of valet. I run out and I turn around, and it was my boy Lloyd, who had been murdered in 1984. And I turned and I looked at him and I said, Lloyd? And he was like, get out of here. And he closed the door. And I looked at Michael. And I was like, that was Lloyd. He was like, run, Si, run, keep your head down. And I just kept looking at the door, and I run and I get in the car, and I'm telling Mike as I'm trying to pull off, yo, that was Lloyd. Like Lloyd he said, what are you talking about? I was like, that was Lloyd Harrison that just helped me out of the club. I was falling. He said, you wasn't falling. I said, dude, I was falling, and the guy that lifted me up to help me out the door, Michael was already ahead of me. He said, I ain't see anybody. He said, I just saw you come out the door, stop, and turn around and look at the door. That's like, what are you doing? He didn't see it. And I was like, I think it was my last time. No, I went to Magic City some more. I'm about to lie for no reason. I just stayed closer to the door. But I never forgot that. I remember Mike turned around and going, Sal, what are you doing? Stop, come on. And I stopped and said, that was Lloyd. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, he never saw me falling. And I didn't smoke, drink. I didn't do any kind of drugs, nothing. I just, to this day, just like women. And I never forgot it. And it was as clear as day. I'm telling you, I've gone back to Magic City. I have not seen a security guard by that door. I haven't seen any of that stuff. And people thought I was joking. Well, I wasn't drunk. I don't drink. If you ask me right now, like the hair on my arm stand up, I still feel it. It was as real to me as possible.
Yeah, that's your story. You're sticking to it.
That's my story, and it's the truth.
Last question.
Mm-hmm.
Since our last interview, the whole Will Smith, Chris Rock slapping incident happened. Now, you were actually in Bad Boys. 1 and 2, right?
1 and 2.
So you got to work with Will Smith. How old do you know him?
Pretty well.
Pretty well.
Yeah. Since he was 19.
When you saw that slapping, were you surprised, or were you like, okay, that's just how Will is, people just don't know him that well?
I was making jokes of it at first, like everybody else, because Chris Rock handled it better than anybody could have handled it.
Yeah, he said, Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
And he was like, best night in television. All right, let's get going. And then he read it. He said, greatest night on television, biggest night in television. Chris Rock being so witty caught what was happening and rode with it. Still hasn't said anything. Will hasn't said anything. The only person that said anything.
Well, Will apologized on stage, not to Chris Rock, but to the audience,
right,
and the other nominees. And also, he made a statement, I believe, like a couple of days later, apologizing to Chris and so forth. Right. So he did do a statement. He just didn't do like an interview or whatever about it.
It was the only thing not the only thing, but one of the things I know Will feel sorry for that, Questlove, Philly kid, got his Oscar and it overshadowed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's another thing. Like Will was mad that it overshadowed what Quest executive produced the show.
Me and Questlove have our differences. So that.
Yeah, I know, but
that part don't bother me.
You see
much.
how I slid it in?
You slid it in. I saw the slide.
But it was an amazing situation, and my artist Veda said to me, and I was like, having a conversation about it, and she said, no matter what you do in life, there's an infinite amount of realities that can happen. And the infinite amount of realities that happen with Will is he got to step, like I've been telling you, he needed a break. He got to step off the train for a second, look at everything, see what is in dust and can be brushed off and put back on. But that one smack shouldn't determine the person he is. He's an unbelievable human. I'm telling you, everything that you thought you know about Will, besides the crazy sex stuff that you say, as you see, when we had that conversation, I wasn't going to entertain it just like them because I know not to be true. And the reason, but then you have to realize, like I said, the pressures that come with being the man.
Yeah.
It was a moment that I'm sure he wish he could take back.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was, 7 seconds he can take back. But him being the guy he is, he went, figured it out, got to the center of where that may have come from. And it is what it is. I'm behind Will.
Yeah, I just feel, from my point of view, and I don't know Will at all. I've never met him. I've never met Chris Rock. Actually, I met Tony.
Yeah.
Me and him have had conversations and so forth. But these two men, Jada, I don't know her either. I met their son a couple times, but I'm very much removed from the situation. From the outside looking in, I felt it was somewhat cowardly because of who he did it to. Chris Rock is a small, relatively harmless man who has been bullied his whole life to the point where he's gotten put in the hospital and everything else like that. There was no physical threat that Chris Rock would have made to Will Smith. Now, Jazzy Jeff did an interview and said, well, no, so y'all don't know Chris. He would have smacked Mike Tyson. I don't believe that. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. You could say it. That's your man. I mean, I understand why you would say it. But, if The Rock had said that same joke on stage, I don't think Will would have ran up on The Rock. I just don't think so.
I do.
You think so? You think that Will Smith would have smacked The Rock in the face?
I think he would.
The Oscars?
You
think?
I think The Rock would put the mic down and unbutton his jacket. Donald Rollins said Chris Rock is the only one that buttoned his jacket and put his face forward. Like, I take my hat off. I'm going to say to Chris handled it better than anybody I can possibly think to handle anything, to the point when the guy ran up on stage with Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock goes to the mic and was like, was that Will Smith?
Was that Will Smith?
He puts everything in just in the content, and he's a master at it. Sometimes you don't get the stuff, like you said, he's been bullied his whole life. I think that's how he learned to deal with it. And we don't know. We don't know what spirits jumped into Will for that minute and 10 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, clearly there's a long history with these two.
Right.
They've known each other. I mean, Chris Rock had been on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They've done stuff together. I heard there was always someone of attention.
Right.
between the two of them.
Yeah, like they showed that when Chris did a show and he goes, "We're going to give you an award. You went 5 minutes without saying the word Will Smith," and all that kind of stuff, making fun. So a guy protecting the honor of his female, however it went about, whatever spirit jumped in and jumped out, came in at the time it needed to. And everything as it is. I'm glad that he was able to step away for a second and reflect and continue to work on himself.
Yeah, I mean, look, at this point, Hollywood is kind of cool on him. A lot of projects that were along the way probably got put on hold, shelved. You know how this cancel culture thing goes. Everyone's upset in the first couple of days, in the first couple of weeks.
Robert Downey Jr. got so high that he broke into somebody's house and was sleeping in their bed like there was 3 bad wolves. He kept getting bears or whatever. He kept getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And then one day he decided not to.
Now he's Iron Man.
And then he became Iron Man.
I get it.
Will's the Man of Steel.
Right. And listen, I think, you've seen it over and over again. I mean, Doja Cat was getting canceled at one point. The Baby was getting canceled. I was getting canceled. Like everyone goes through this cancel moment, and it really makes you sort of look inside of yourself and say, listen, am I going to let this public pressure destroy me and walk away from the field that I chose to be in? Or am I going to get back up and say, hey, I'm going to get back to work and I'm going to go harder and I'm going to put out such quality content that it's going to be undeniable.
Mel Gibson.
Although he never really got back to his heights again. I mean, but he got working again. People, he hates blacks and Jews, so I'm sure it's probably, in terms of what he said. So there was probably a lot of doors that were closed to him. But then again, I think me and Michael Jai White talked about this because he's done movies with Mel Gibson. And I said, well, his career kind of went downhill. But he's like, well, how many actors really are on top of their career, like into their 60s and 70s and everything? I mean, Robert De Niro was
Jack Nicholson was on.
Jack Nicholson was one, right? But in general, I mean, look at De Niro and Pacino. Especially De Niro, who's considered one of the best ever. He's done a lot of turkey movies late in his career. Like a lot of his movies are I can't believe he just did that. What's his name? Bruce Willis.
Yes.
I remember that show Between Two Ferns?
Yeah.
When he had Bruce Willis on, and I remember Zach was like, so Bruce, do you know that some actors actually turn down roles? And it was just so funny because it's like Bruce Willis had such a string of bad movies by that time that it was such a cutting statement. So listen, at the end of the day, you're not hot forever. Do people still love Will Smith? Sure.
I do. Human being, human. It was unfortunate that he had to be on the, slapping end of it, but Will recover from this. Chris Rock has already recovered from this. We should put it to bed and keep it moving.
Last question.
Yeah.
Who's winning the NBA Finals at the end of the season? You didn't do too well last time, but other years that we've done it, you've been pretty close.
I was on.
You were on. This time around you were not, but let's see how you do.
I'm just going to say this. After watching Memphis, if Memphis takes care of their team, they had a chance. Minnesota playing great. And I think next season is going to be a small market team again, like Milwaukee. So I would have to see the total, what happens this summer with the trades. So in October, we'll have this conversation.
Okay.
October 21st, we'll do it.
All right,
again.
So this time, okay, I see you're more cautious this time.
I'm more cautious. I don't like being wrong.
You don't like being wrong.
No.
Okay. All right, so you're not going to say the Warriors.
No.
You're not going to say the Celtics.
I'm not going to say the
You're not going to say the Lakers.
The Celtics were so close, man.
They were.
Man, they were so close. And that's diet. I can guarantee you that's diet. When they were tired and I know they didn't do, because I watched them like just get tired in the third quarter. And it's the end of the season, and I get it. But you're on overdrive. The finals is like the rest of the season didn't happen. No matter what pain you have, you find a needle or a pill for that. I won't eat meat, but boy, if one of these ligaments need to be frozen for about 40 minutes, freeze it up. Like I have no time not to perform. It's like any given Sunday, and I'm LT. When you had to get those tackles, you got to do what you got to do, and what it all takes to win. So just take care of your body. There's so many ways to take care of your body, and I wish I was able to get into that organization. I'm sure they got some great people there, but they should enhance that.
Well, did you hear that there's now an operation that you could do? They call it the male BBL. It's a height augmentation.
Oh, when they cut your leg?
When they cut your leg and make you like 6 inches taller.
Yeah, that's a trip though, because to cut the fibula and tibular bone, which is down there, is one of the strongest bones is your shin bone, right?
So what did you put like a metal bar in there or something?
Yeah, my brother-in-law, my boy Michael, when he broke his tibula, might be fibula, when he broke it, they put the rod in that was connected to the knee, so he really can't play basketball like he used to. So, athlete,
you're going to lose, basically takes about a year to recover.
Take more than a year.
Well, I mean, they're saying it takes about a year to more or less recover. You're going to lose a lot of your athletic ability in the process. It's not designed for athletes. It's not like, you could become a 7-footer and go play basketball. Like, it's just designed
for 5-foot guys.
5-foot guys want to be 5'5", 5'6". Exactly. But it's really interesting as someone who's 6'11", when suddenly people could artificially catch up to you.
And this is what makes no sense. This is why I tell the people this. They have to cut your leg.
Yeah. It sounds crazy. I would never do it.
And they have to cut the bone.
See, I'm 6'2", so for me, height has never really been.
Right. And they got to stretch your tendons and ligaments.
Yeah,
they got to stretch your muscle.
Insane.
It's just wear lifts in your shoes, bro. Get a Ferrari. Buy a Bentley. Like, do all the other stuff short dudes
buy some
do.
Cartiers.
You know what I'm saying? Pay for it. It's for sale. Like, relax. All that to impress women. Like, but
look what women do. A woman will go to a motel room and meet with someone who is not medically trained in any capacity. Like, for example, I interviewed Cardi B, right? Early in her career, like before Bodak Yellow came out. And she said, yeah, when she was stripping, she went and got, ass shots. She doesn't know what was in it to this day.
Well, when half of the strippers and the bartenders in New York City have illegal ass shots that is done practically by the same person, it's just like, yeah, I heard that some women died of it, but it's like, what are the odds? Like, what are the odds it's gonna be me? Like, what are the odds? I mean, I could have died with getting my boobs done, It's just like, it was on some what are the odds type of thing. The only thing was that when I was getting my ass shots, I was awake and I almost passed out. Like, I was like, I feel like I'm about to faint. Like, I was telling the lady, and she's like, well, you only have one ass cheek done. So she gave me some milk and some cookies, and then we just continued the procedure. And it's like, when I finished, this ass was fatter.
She's risking her life for an unknown object going into your butt. But she said her career took off after that. She said her BBL gave her life. Like, women are doing this illegally, and they've been doing it illegally. How many stories have you heard of girls going to DR because plastic surgery is cheaper over there?
Right.
And a lot of times the doctors are doctors that have lost their licenses in America. They go over there, they they get this full mommy makeover, whatever, for a fraction of the cost that Dr. Miami charges, and then they go and die a couple days later.
Right.
It happens all that we've reported on it.
But it
time
happens
and
in
time.
Beverly Hills too.
Not to the same extent as when you
There's
go. When
more
you go
doctors
overseas.
being sued for breast augmentation than all the rest of them.
Well, I mean, listen, Kanye's mom, that's how she died.
Yeah.
Kanye's mom wanted to get a bunch of lipo and plastic surgery. A bunch of doctors told her that she is not healthy enough. I think she had like diabetes. She was very overweight. She had high blood pressure, cholesterol, whatever else. And a bunch of doctors said, it is too dangerous to operate on you. You might die. So what did she do? Kept talking to more doctors until she found one that said that she'll do it. And I actually looked into the story. The operation was actually successful, and she was at home with like one of her relatives who was like a nurse that was taking care of her. And I think like 3 or 4 days later, she went to cardiac arrest and just died.
Yeah, blood clot.
Yeah. I mean, it's serious. It's serious. Usher's ex-wife, who I've interviewed, ran away without telling Usher, went to Brazil and to get a bunch of plastic surgery, and she went to cardiac arrest on the table. She luckily was able to pull out of it. But I mean, shit, compared to what women do themselves, like cutting part of your leg off doesn't seem all that tragic. Like,
let me say this. I believe that you can enhance your avatar by working out. I've proved it to certain women that wanted to get butt shots. I was like, you can do all of this to build the muscle in your ass.
Now, you cannot naturally, a woman cannot work out and get the equivalent of a BBL.
No, and that's not.
Now, can they get a more firm butt?
They can get a firm butt. They can
shape,
build. Right, but what do you want? Like, I don't even know if they want it to shake and like, I don't know. Like, this is the deal.
I mean, a lot of that is genetic, right? Like having a girl with a fat ass, that's fat. They have to be born like that, more or less. If you work out, it will turn into muscle. You won't have a big, fat, round, soft, juicy ass if you're just doing, squats all the time.
Right.
It's a different thing. Now,
it's a different muscle.
It's a different muscle. So at the end of the day, like, you cannot work out your way into a Nicki Minaj or a Cardi B. You could only operate your way into that.
I learned when women, like I don't, guys always talked about makeup and wigs and nails and eyelashes and lipstick. One, you shouldn't be talking about it. Women dress for women. They undress for men. Janice Dickinson said that.
Women dress for women and undress for men. Yeah. I wouldn't totally agree with that.
So women dress for women.
Really?
They buy those bags not to impress men. They buy those clothes and they do all of that. Does not attract the bee. A guy, Drake even said it. He goes, yeah, I like that. He said, but I like you with your hair pulled back, boy shorts on. I like you best like that with no makeup. A guy likes women. The ones who like women like women. The ones who they want to enter the women. That's it.
I get that, but a woman dressed very sexy will catch your eye more so than a woman who's dressed kind of mousy.
I would believe that,
right?
If I hadn't been attracted to a Muslim woman who was covered from head to toe and all you saw was her face. I have literally been attracted to people where you don't see their body. So
yeah, but you know something? If the face is not all that pretty and the body makes up for it.
Right. And you can see a silhouette of it. This is what I'm saying.
I suppose.
Like Candace Owens said it, and to me, she was correct in this. No guy wants to see the girl just be around naked the whole time, just advertising. That's the way they look at it. I see it differently. I see girls going, I remember I had a conversation with a friend and I told her, don't do her lips anymore. And she goes, no, just a little bit more. I want it to look like Rihanna. So I said, well, you're not Rihanna. I want it to look like, well, Beyonce has, like I literally heard this come out of her mouth. So these girls are wanting to look like other girls, and they are starting to. They are starting to all look alike. The makeup job.
The Kim Kardashian look has become dominant.
It has become
and honestly, that is the look of a black woman.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
Big ass, like
nice titties.
Yeah, like that is not that is a more of an African body shape,
which has always been
popularized.
It's always been well. She has made it for.
No, it's not always been embraced. In fact, when you go to the '80s, big asses were not like in fashion like that. It was titties.
You mean in white America?
In mainstream American media, which we have talked about the importance of it. You know what I'm saying? Like
the skinny model,
skinny with the big
cocaine,
with a big boob.
Just looking like
Pamela Lee. You know, Pamela Anderson.
Pamela Anderson. But see, that wasn't a model. That was a pinup model. But the model look of the thin Kate Moss look, Kate's really cool people too. She just born that way. But the skinny hanger looking was this thing. Mm-hmm. But in my culture, a fat ass
was always there.
Always taken over.
And shout out to Luke, who I think brought that to the mainstream.
They saw it and then they didn't understand why they saw it. I just tell you this, just a little bit of history that in some of the colonial times, that's the best way of me saying, in the 1800s, women wore a corset and they wore a bigger bottom bonnet. Right. So the bonnet in the back
looks like a big ass, right?
Right. And even when they wore a bow or something on the back to draw attention to that area, but underneath, they were sitting there under fakeness. But in my culture or in the black culture, it's always been the beauty in the booty.
Right. And I think that once white men like myself actually got to experience that for the first time, they realized like, oh, this is where it's at. Like, fuck all that flat ass shit. This is why the majority of my relationships have always been with black women.
Right.
Like, you know, I mean, yes, I've dated some Asian, some white, and, you know, Spanish, whatever, but my serious relationships.
No one can fault you for having good taste, bro.
That's right. Exactly.
That's anytime people got mad or said something, I go, I don't know why you were mad. Chris Rock said it best. Everyone loves black men, right? So it's white women love black men, black women love black men. It's always been the thing that got us into a situation. And then one day, you and I are gonna have a really deep conversation. I want to think it through about what is racist? What is racist? Can a black person be racist? Paul Mooney had a great stint on it, but I want to get into it and understand it one day.
Or, I mean, I think a more general encompassing statement is what is prejudice?
That's what I think it is, right? What's prejudice?
You know, are you prejudging somebody before you actually meet them based on their appearance?
Do you hate them?
You know, racism has an implication of power and control, which you could say, well, a black person can't be racist because they can't, you know,
make laws.
Yeah, make laws and subjugate white people and so forth.
Or vote in red states.
Right. But at the end of the day, everyone is prejudiced. Everyone says some fucked up shit about another race, whether they're a kid or in their private home or in their thoughts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's always, you know, there's always been ignorance, and there's always been prejudging of people based on how they look.
Yeah. So you can't judge a girl if she don't have a big ass or not. She might have a big heart.
There you go. That's how we're going to end it. John Salley, always a pleasure. Until next time. Peace.
Peace.